women control like over 40% of the global wealth in terms of households. So that's the level of wealth that they control, but often they feel less confident about investing.
Fintech right before we got on the show, and she's like, well, the only thing I can think of is like PayPal and Venmo as services have to do with fintech. But what is fintech?
So fintech is just short for financial technology. So between banks where the money moves and brokerage companies, where stocks are bought and sold, and insurance, which is another pretty big pillar. When is the best time to invest? It was yesterday. What's the second best time? It's today.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. I'm here with my co-host,
Sophia Bosch.
And we are super excited, right, Sophia? Because we have a very special guest. We're discussing a topic that we haven't really talked about here in the podcast.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, and so she is a lady in fintech. And I want to introduce you to her. Her name is Rocky Miller. She's the current president of Cyber Technologies. She's had over 25 years of experience and has held multiple leadership positions in, big companies like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. She's pretty much made her way through the competitive world of Wall Street as a woman of color. She's been CEO twice in the blockchain space, and that's while being a mother of two. And so I'm just super excited for you to get to know her. Welcome to the show, Rocky. How are you?
Thank you for having me, ladies. Happy to be here.
Yes, we are super excited. So maybe for Sophia's sake, because I was telling her, fintech right before we got on the show, and she's like, well, the only thing I can think of is like PayPal and Venmo as services, that might have to do with fintech. But what is fintech? And for our teenage, audience and mom audience to understand, why is it exciting right now in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So fintech is just short for financial technology. And really what it is over the last, I'd say 2 decades, there has been a lot of focus, and especially now with focus on the retail, like everyday people, right? So in the past, like working at places like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, that deal with more institutional, type finance. So there was a lot of energy poured into automating their systems and, making things more seamless. Kind of think of any business, right? Like a doctor's office, or accountant's office, any office, a lawyer's office. There's constantly need to make things more faster, more efficient, less risky, to avoid errors. And so fintech really grew out of all the technologies that were built for these larger banks and the banks that you probably have an account in, or financial companies such as insurance companies. These are all part of the payment companies, as you mentioned, PayPal and Venmo. So between banks where the money moves and brokerage companies, where stocks are bought and sold, and insurance, which is another pretty big pillar. Then there's many private equity and private markets, et cetera. But all the technology that went into building these industries and automating and making it faster, more efficient, kind of constitutes what is
safe. And safe, I bet, because we're in the real estate space, and we see so much fraud when it comes to wiring. People that pretend to be the escrow company that you're trying to close a transaction through, and they're really not, and so on and so forth. So, a little bit of that as well.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is a big, I think, pillar across every vertical, finance, real estate, as you mentioned, pretty much everything, healthcare. So fintech is mainly, I think that's the term. More recently, fintech has become popular and more mainstream because of the involvement of retail investors. So, things like Venmo and PayPal or Cash App, right? Things that have made something that traditionally was like harder, more complicated, more people, especially women, would take longer to get comfortable to, buy a stock or invest in something. And that's really changed over the last, I'd say, 10 years with the coming in, of the Silicon Valley companies that were taking some of these old paradigms in these big businesses, making it simpler and then democratizing really investing and payments and other things for any retail consumer. So that is basically it's reshaping how money moves, how it gets managed. And so that movement, I think, has really brought fintech up to the minds of a lot more people and why we should pay attention to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with Sophia, we were talking because you invest a little bit in Bitcoin. And so I know earlier, this administration, signed passed an executive order where they were, signing off on people being able to hold crypto, for example, in their retirement accounts. And I was telling Sophia, well, the price of what you have right now of your holdings there is going to continue to go up as more people basically jump in. And I was telling her, but it might take a little bit of time. And but that's from my perspective. I like to hear your perspective as to how equipped our financial services industries right now to really making that really real. And an executive order that was just passed earlier this year. Like, when is that really tangibly um, happening for people on a day to day basis, being able to do that and hold crypto in their accounts, their retirement?
Yeah, I mean, crypto and the blockchain side of things has been something I've been close to for the last decade, and I think crypto is an interesting, I think, asset class given it's really global in nature. Nobody owns Bitcoin, right? It's really a decentralized commodity for lack of a better term, and so I think crypto just moves differently. In terms of whether the US government when they'll open up the ability to hold it in 401ks, etc., there are other ways to get exposure to crypto. So there are, funds and just like regular ETFs on the stock exchange that you might invest in for S&P. So if you want to get exposure to the S&P or tech sector or the AI sector, there are similar ETFs for Bitcoin. There are companies that mimic the earnings of Bitcoin as well. So they go and they buy Bitcoin, and then their price is then pegged to, the Bitcoin price. Like the Grayscale, there's a bunch of products that they have. So those are very safe, and I mean safe in the sense that I'm not speculating on the price of cryptocurrency, but in terms of if you want to get exposure, those are easy ways to get exposure. Um, there are decentralized exchanges, which require you to have a wallet, and that can get a little intimidating. Having your wallet means you have to save your keys, know how to retrieve them, and that's a methodology. And then there's exchanges, and there's exchanges on Coinbase.
We just had a situation where my husband, he's like, "Oh my gosh, guys, I think I lost the password, to to one of his wallets."
Yeah, there's so many stories.
Yes, yes, yes. And so he was able to call the company, and they're like, "You should have received a sheet with a few, words." And
Yep, you're
and trying to find that, he found a second one, and he's like, "Oh my."
That he forgot about.
That he
It's like, okay, so now I can one is yeah, he found some
a good chunk of money. Yeah, so that was
great.
yeah.
That's great.
But that goes to say that it's in its I feel like it's in its infancy still. The financial technology behind the ability for us to easily, hold a position in digital currency, and it be safe, and it be not have these issues that we were talking about right now. How far do you think into the future until like
No,
some
I
of
mean,
these
that
like
is
Coinbase
yeah, that
types of bank?
big help. I would say I mean, I'm not this is not a plug for Coinbase by any means, but, they've been around long enough. They're registered, they're a, federally registered money transmitter. I believe they have a SEC registration. So, there are, exchanges, as they call them, even though they're different than, like a New York Stock Exchange. And they've been around long enough where it's safe, and they have
Yeah.
custodian and insurance and all the various levers that you have. So I think if you're looking for a centralized way, centralized meaning someone owns your crypto, right? You don't own it in the sense that you don't have it in your wallet. If that's the way you want to go down, I think there's plenty of decent exchanges in, Coinbase, Gemini. There's a handful just in the US. Um, and then if you want to, go down the not my keys, not my money, that route, and you want to put it in a wallet or a Trezor, that's a way to go down. Obviously, there are some risks to that. Yeah. So, I believe the infrastructure is pretty sound. I think maybe what's complicated and maybe what puts people off is the process of
Yeah.
doing the transactions, following the market. It's a market that it doesn't kind of travel with the traditional market a lot of the times. And so there is a bit of a learning curve and maybe reluctance to get in. And so there, then you have the options I pointed out earlier, like, like a fund or an ETF where you can kind of trade in it within your comfortable kind of asset class, which is equities.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned the democratization, of some of this assets, and you talked about women now more than ever being able to um, invest, and having accessibility to, investing. Um, I want to talk a little bit about scalability and AI. And I know that that brings an incredible ability to basically to reach a lot of these customers that were not, probably service as much as, in the past. But what about human connection? And like us ladies, we tend to want to talk to like a warm body, like an actual person. How do you see the intersection of those two things?
Yeah, and you bring up a great point around, like women control like over 40% of the global wealth, right, in terms of households. So that's the level of wealth that they control, but often they feel less confident about investing or outsource those decisions to their partners, their siblings, the parents, etc. And
We read a study with Sophia that even women that were breadwinners of the family still were basically deferring the financial decisions to the spouse. That's
yeah,
incredible to me. It's
it's
like,
incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. And then you take that, right? You take some a stat like this, which is like, all right, well, we control close to half of the global wealth, right? And then you have this unprecedented wealth transfer that's going on, like generational wealth transfer, right? From the boomers. Um, it's like 80 to 90 trillion, by 2024, between now and then, that's the amount of wealth that's going to be transferred, and women live longer. So you would, get all reasons think that whatever control of assets we have now, that's only going to go up because we
yeah.
live longer and we're going to continue to inherit more of this, this generational wealth. So I think it's paramount to really educate and build confidence in a lot of women to um like, when is the best time to invest? It was yesterday. And if what's the second best time? It's today, right? It's like you have to be in it. And that's, again, for me, it's been the only way that you are then invested enough, no pun intended, to learn to, take your knocks and build up. And I think, the earlier the better, right? I think time is your friend. Like, it's way better to invest early and learn over time, because the time is your friend, and it'll compound your benefits, right? Versus later in life when you have to be, get more aggressive in order to meet your needs, like maybe post retirement. So I think the long game is it's built over time, and it's only done by being part of it, and it's so important for women to do that. To get back to your question around AI and kind of, how that fits into this, So at Siebert right now, we are implementing AI like across our operations. We're, really leaning in to how this can help us do all the things to, automate and reduce risk and all the, all the good things, right, that come with AI, but also in how we can change the interfaces with our customers. We are not there yet, and I don't think this is our thesis. We're not thinking that, hey, there's gonna be an AI that like basically replace human connections. And that's it. Like you talk to a bot and an agent and it's like 50 clicks away before you talk to the human. I think that the future, at least for near term and maybe even midterm, is going to be a hybrid model, right? Where the advisors that are actually you touch and feel and talk to are going to be aided and assisted by AI agents and tools so that they're able to give you more of their time, their expertise. They're able to communicate things to you, personalize things for you. So I think that's really where I think this is going to go. And we're so early right now. I mean, I know it's crazy to think ChatGPT came out, like it's been more than 3 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But we're still so early, and there's gonna be so many changes.
Yeah, yeah. Now I want to perhaps, take a little,
I had a
okay, go ahead.
I had a couple questions on, yeah, veering it towards how you even got into the space at all. Like what about it piqued your interest? Like what path did you take to get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so basically I have a very interesting kind of path. I grew up in Hong Kong where my parents lived, and they owned a small business. And I actually went to school for like computer science and math and stuff. So not really finance related, more I think STEM related. I think that's what the kids call it now. But at that point. So when I graduated, my brother actually forwarded my resume to one of his clients that he made stuff for, and they asked me to come in. I met with this wonderful Australian lady. I was very young, very green, and she was just like, "Oh, you're a sweet kid, or I'll just come work here and we'll figure it out." It was a company called SunGuard, and when I walked into the office, the plaque said SunGuard Futures. And I was thinking in my head, oh, it's kind of like NASA or something, like cool. But it was futures, like a contract, like a derivatives contract. So that was my level of exposure to finance and understanding. And I joined that company, yeah, pretty much, started my first few weeks by making calls to clients and updating the contact information. That was my first actual task, right? Then I got into the programming and various other sides and learned the business side of it. So I kind of came into it more as a tech person that was supporting different finance companies and different instruments. And then I got interested on the business side. And then over the course of my career, pivoted more to, um, I would say technology as a business, really, versus technology as more of a individual contributor, kind of coding and developing things. So that was kind of my journey, and that took me to my job at Goldman Sachs, and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. What are some, perhaps a few key lessons that you could share, about you rising through the ranks, at Goldman Sachs and leading fintech innovation as a woman executive, just for all the, women and girls listening.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was very fortunate in terms of being in a uh really encouraging, I think, household. I think that encouragement in different areas of your life, I think, impact you and imprint in you maybe a different mindset. And I think that, which is why it's so important to, and I have two daughters too, right? It's important to um, let them know that you have, you try. If you fail, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I think there's this inherent, I think I see like in a lot of girls and women, this inherent fear of, failing or looking stupid or, uh, the imposter syndrome and all of this stuff, which is really kind of a veneer for not feeling like I could do it and I don't want to embarrass myself, like that type of mindset.
Yeah.
And I think that for whatever reason, I just really just mostly went with the flow. And I think that the thing that is a theme in my own life is even if you're scared, just do it scared, So you're doing something, do it scared. So you're scared about it, just do it anyway. And sometimes you fall on your face and whatever, but a lot of the times, I think you'd be surprised. And you'd be surprised and look back and be like, all right, well, I did that. I went to that meeting, I stood up, I, you know, uh asserted myself in this way, or I killed it at this presentation. And you then build that confidence and you kind of move up. Um I do want to say that it's impossible as a woman, not well, nothing is impossible, but it's so much more helpful to have a network of mentors, um, women and men, having champions, having sponsors on both sides of the aisle is very important. So you always want to seek out the people that are, and they're there. They're always there. I think you want to seek out the people that are going to show you the ropes, or tell you what you need to hear, even though it might be a little harsh sometimes. So I think those are all important relationships to have, and I think if you nurture that and trust yourself, I think those are like two important factors.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. We talk about failure here as accelerated learning in our world. So thank you for reiterating that, from your perspective and in your words. Um, Professions right now in the fintech space. Sophia has actually got accepted Boston College. She's got a major in finance.
Mm.
What are some, positions in that space?
Oh my God, so many. I think, financial companies now have really various tracks, right? And obviously, I think the tracks that get maybe more airtime is like, oh, I'm a trader, I'm a quant,
Hmm.
I'm uh, a analyst or investment analyst, portfolio manager. So yes, you have those. I'd say customer facing and the types.
Glamorous.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I am a banker, I am an investment banker. So those are the kind of, I'd say, like, the client-facing roles, right, that are there, and I think, very competitive, et cetera, et cetera. But, at the same time, like, it takes, like, a huge conglomerate of divisions to make any typical financial company work, right? Whether it's marketing, right? So I think, and now I think marketing now is very different than I think marketing was like even 10 years, including a lot of technology and innovation and the AI space, data analysis. It's a science at this point, right? So there's
Yeah.
that aspect of it. Um, Training, HR, compliance, legal. There's many, many different facets, operations. And the operations side, there's like varied, kind of areas of expertise. Technology, every development or project management or UI UX designer, right? So there's many areas in which I think women and young people can look at and say, well, if I want to be in this space. And then after that, you follow your interest. I think once you're at a firm, like I did, you can pivot. I think just show interest and aptitude, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we always like to end by asking our guests, what does wealth mean to them? So, what does wealth mean to you, Rocky?
Um, I think wealth to me is deeply personal. I think, as you pointed out, I think for me it's freedom. Really, I think it's not a number. I don't think really is. I think you boil it down to anyone. It's never really a number. They might think it's a number, but it's like something where oh, if I have this number, I'm gonna have freedom, right? So the bottom line is it's freedom um to do what you want, live where you want, give your family what they need, go on vacations, have security. So I feel like to me that's what wealth is, it's the ability to kind of live your best life. And that's what I think everyone is striving for, and which is why again it's so important that women are um, equally, if not more, involved in determining their financial future, their family's financial future, and their communities, their economies, all of it.
Well, thank you so much. And now, if any of our listeners wanted to, stay in contact with you, reach out, anything regarding, uh, your position at Seabird, or where can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, my email is rmiller@seabird.com. So that's R and then Miller at seabird.com. And I'm on LinkedIn, so you can definitely DM me and message me there as well.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions, Sophie?
I think I'm
Good. Okay.
good here.
With that, thank you so very much for joining us on another episode of Becoming Wealthy. Please share this episode with a special woman in your life. And we look forward to being with you on the next episode of the show. Thank you so much, Rocky. It's been an honor and to meet you and get to talk to you and chat. And thank you so much for pouring into Sophia and to our audience.
Thank you.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you, ladies.